Dawson's Rentals.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. Today I want to discuss a recent news rumor in the Power Rangers community revolving around the Power Rangers Reboot movie universe that's coming from Netflix and Johnathan Entwistle. Mainly, the rumor is, as of right now, that Johnathan Entwistle may be leaving the project, which has of course caused a lot of rapid fandom panic button pressing, and I wanted to kind of discuss what happened, what I think it could mean, and maybe ease some worries. I don't know, because I think there's definitely something to talk about and some stuff to think about, but I don't necessarily think it's time to panic for all time like we usually do. So basically, all this revolves around Entwistle updating his Twitter profile a couple times within the last week, and I hesitate to even talk about this stuff sometimes because I've seen this happen before with something this is almost gossipy, and it tends to lead to lots of wild speculation, and it could mean nothing, but it could mean something. But effectively, at one point he updated his profile to include that he's working on The Power Rangers, which was initially the news because people are like, oh, that's going to be the title for it, which I actually kind of like that. I was actually wondering about that the other week myself. I'm like, I wonder what they're going to call it, since they already called the 2017 movie Power Rangers. What are they going to call it? So, oh, the Power Rangers. But anyway, just a few short days later, he removed that from his Twitter profile of shows he was working on, in addition to another show he's working on as well. And I guess this also coincides with comments that he made in some interviews about some of the creative restraints at Netflix. And of course, I'm sure some of you have heard about the Netflix stories that have come out in the last few weeks about their profits being down and them kind of reining in things on what they support to sort of make only things that are the most profitable. And I think that all kind of creates this perfect storm of speculation and worry. Okay, in regards to him updating his profile, it could just mean nothing. Like I said, this is so gossipy, it could just mean maybe he put the title The Power Rangers out there and Netflix was like, whoa, we're not supposed to reveal that yet, take that off. But then again, he took the other show off. But it could mean nothing. Maybe he was just feeling rebellious that day. I don't know. But could it mean he's off the project? Sure, that could mean he's off the project. And that's the end of the video. No. But the thing about that is, just because he's leaving the project does not mean the project is canceled. I know that there's been a lot of behind-the-scenes turbulence with the Power Rangers movie, to be sure, so another person leaving it and a possible another change in direction and delay I can see worrying people, and I understand that. But if he is leaving it for whatever reason, that does not mean that Power Rangers Reboot is canceled. It doesn't mean that Power Rangers is canceled. It doesn't mean Hasbro's like, well, time to stop producing toys and making the show, and time to bury Power Rangers, and Whistle's gone. I think that's what a lot of people are inferring. In regards, to my personal opinion on it, if he is leaving, just in regards to his creative talent being off the project, I'm kind of indifferent. Not in an offensive way to him, but I'm not familiar with his work at all. I liked what I was hearing. I'm excited for the clean slate of the Power Rangers reboot in whatever form it takes. Like I said, I liked a couple things he said in interviews, but I'm not really familiar with his work. So it's not as if it was an actor or a writer or a director leaving a project that I knew and was a big fan of. I'm like, oh man, that sucks. I really like their work and I wanted to see their take. It's just, so if he's leaving and they have to hire somebody else, I really don't have too much of a drastic opinion on that. But in regards to what my opinion is on what it could mean for where the reboot's gonna go and will it get canceled, I'm going to be honest, I don't think it means the reboot will be canceled. I can see why people are worried because of the stuff with Netflix and their profits and whatnot, and on top of this, I think at worst we'll be in for another delay of some sort as they possibly find a replacement or restructure things. Just logically for me, I can't say for sure. I can't say for sure. This is just all my speculation. I'm just going based off of my experience from following other shows and my general gut feeling and opinion. There's two things I logically don't see happening. I just don't see Hasbro canceling this project before it got off the ground, mainly because we're so early in to Hasbro's era still. When we think about it, it seems like kind of a long time, but Hasbro has not really gotten a chance to make its own stamp on the franchise show-wise. They got the toys and stuff, but everything else has been kind of grandfathered in, from the Boom Comics to the Saban style, and they really haven't had a chance to make truly Hasbro's Power Rangers. So just logically, it doesn't make sense to me that they would completely cancel this project before they've even gotten a chance to make it. Maybe if we had been in production or we had done a first season and then Entwistle left in the middle and we had this Netflix news and Power Rangers did mediocre, then I would maybe be worried about Netflix trying to cancel the deal and Power Rangers being in trouble. And it's not unheard of for shows to be canceled or movies to be canceled before they get off the ground, but just in Hasbro's position, even if they have to change platforms or something, don't think it would make sense for them to not even try. You know what I mean? They spent a lot of money on this brand. It's a pretty recognizable brand. It just would seem very surprising for me for them to cancel this outright, even if it takes a longer time than we ever thought. I just logically don't see that happening. Also, they just inked this deal with Netflix. I don't know anything about how that type of business works, but they literally just made the deal with Netflix. They haven't even really gotten a chance to prove themselves, so it would seem weird to me for Netflix to cancel something that hasn't even come out yet. I don't know too much about the numbers. Sometimes I try not to follow these types of things because when it comes to ratings numbers and toy numbers, again, it's another thing fans tend to run wild with, the speculation. But I do remember seeing something a few months back or a few weeks back about at one point Dino Fury or Dino Fury Season 2 was one of the top trending shows on like Netflix, Kids Netflix or whatever, which I think is a good sign. It seems like it does decent over there. Again, I don't know everything about the ins and outs of the business. I certainly don't know what Netflix is thinking. I can speculate far less on what Netflix would do than what Hasbro would do. But since this deal is just so fresh, and again, they haven't even had a chance to make their own product for it, it would seem weird to me for Netflix to cancel the deal and Hasbro to cancel it before it even happens. I can see wanting to be very apprehensive about it. You know, I can see being worried like we're going to be on thin ice because Netflix is in more financial trouble. They're still making a lot of money, but you know what I mean? That you know, Power Rangers has to do really well to survive. I can see being nervous about that. I am to a degree nervous about that as well. You know, because they're being a little more cutthroat and more selective. I'm a little bit more nervous about whatever comes out doing well. But I just don't feel like they would cut it off before it even happens. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I just don't see that happening. Now, in the meantime, some people are speculating, could we go back to Sentai adaptions? That's not impossible. There are several rumors out there right now for the last year or so that we are going to do some sort of Sentai adaptation or Sentai-ish adaptation between Dino Fury and the reboot. The most recent one, oddly enough, was Zenkaiger of all things, that we were going to be doing some sort of 30th anniversary season that may use Sentai footage to sort of fill the time. I don't see that as impossible. I also don't see it as impossible that if Hasbro is faced with more delays, that they could maybe opt to adopt. Oh, it's going to adopt a Sentai child. Adapt another Sentai season or two in the meantime. That would be fairly easy to do, I think, and I wouldn't be mad at that. That's certainly a possibility. I don't think that would necessarily mean that they're going to say, nope, you know what, we're giving up on the new reboot. We're just going to do Sentai adaptations. Because again, they haven't even got a chance to show it. If we do this reboot, and it takes Horde, then I could see them going back to the adaptions if they want. And we can make all the you could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me. Jokes. We can do that all we want. So that's not impossible. But again, since it hasn't even been made yet, I think they're going to give it a chance first. But I think it's possible we could get something in between. Again, that's just speculation. I think my main thing with all this is that whenever any news or lack of news happens, the fandom tends to think PR is going to be canceled and it's the end. And that certainly has unfortunately had a lot of behind the scenes mess to deal with. And that kind of sucks. And I can see why that can worry people. And I'm not like, you know, ignorantly optimistic about it. It's just that I have faith that they're going to want to keep the brand around in some form. I have faith that they're going to at least try something with the new reboot, or at the very least, I think the brand is still going to be around and they're going to want to put something out. I don't think that it's going to be canceled. I think we are going to get something. I mean, there's a chance we could have a quiet period, but I don't think it's going to be disappearing anytime soon. Again, it's just far too early into their own era for something like this to happen, in my opinion. Again, if they were doing the reboot and things weren't going well, then I could see reason to be worried. But they haven't even had a chance yet, so I'm just saying, you know, try to be a little more balanced with expectations, because there's definitely reason to be apprehensive, but there's also no reason to think that the Power Rangers franchise is going to completely disappear. Things might be on a different timetable than we're thinking, but I think that Hasbro has invested enough to give it a fair shot. Not to mention, something to think about, but it's, you know, has nothing to do with Hasbro directly, but it's definitely interesting to note how many times Power Rangers was supposed to be canceled and it wasn't. And from miraculous circumstances too. I mean, after it was done at Disney and we did the mmpr version, who would have ever thought Saban would buy it back? And then whoever would have thought Hasbro would buy it after that? So that's kind of more of like a, cosmic universe circumstances type of thing. But if you look at it that way, we're in a much better position. We've been in much worse positions before and it hasn't been canceled. So there's definitely a mess going on behind the scenes. I hope they sort it out, but I think there's reason to be optimistic that eventually we will see it. At the very least, if you're looking on the positive side with this, since nothing has been filmed yet or made yet, they're in kind of a good position to sort of lay the groundwork and try their best to make sure they put their best foot forward. But that's about it for this one, though, guys. I just wanted to encourage you guys to sort of not press the panic button as we get this news. But let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments as always. Until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.